I guess just like in the previous video, I'll just mention for the people watching at home that we are still on for the giveaways. I'll give away 2 sessions per month, so make sure to leave a comment. And at the end of the video, I'll repeat it again and give you the details. But with that out of the way, let's help you out, because last week didn't go exactly as planned, but that's why I want to make sure the reschedule was definitely down. So
Yeah,
what has anything significant changed since last week?
no. I mean, some of my Legion is higher now, and actually, I did just cube um my emblem.
Okay.
So now I have like 65% monster defense instead of 0. So, um,
Oh, I have that. 65 and 9
yeah,
magic attack.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I sent you. Yeah. So this is the
Right.
updated album. I
Yeah.
sent you
Yeah. Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, you updated it, so it came in right updated. Okay. Cool. All right. It's probably a little bit more IED than you eventually want, but for now, that
Yeah.
probably does the job. I'm gonna guess.
Yeah. I guess the only thing that would be different is I lost the event buff, um, but everyone lost that. So
Right. Yeah. 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 That last reset that went away, right?
yeah, so I think my critical rate is the thing that took the hit the most. But
Mm-hmm.
um,
Was it the full
yeah,
20?
I think I had level 3, so I don't know what that is.
Okay. So like 10 or 15, I guess. What's
Yeah.
your critical rate now, I guess, when you're buffed?
Um, for it now is like 85.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it was probably like the 15%, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, the buff was a little bit weird, where basically at level 4 it was already kind of maxed out, but somehow you could go to level 8 for like
Yeah.
very little benefit, yeah. Yeah, the Neo Force being gone is a F in the chat. Okay, yeah, so those are the main differences compared to here, so basically just the crit, okay. Alright. It's weird, by the way, I just noticed this, that it gets like abbreviated by ice lit, which is interesting since the T is not the 3rd letter in the word lightning.
Oh yeah, that is kind of weird.
I thought it was interesting. I had never noticed
Yeah.
that before. I don't know, maybe a translation thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So what kind of stuff do you do daily, weekly basis? What do you enjoy doing, and what do you want to work towards?
Yeah. I guess starting off, I think during the week I have maybe like 2 to 3 hours max that I can play,
Mm-hmm.
which I guess is pretty good compared to some people. And then the weekends I have a little bit more time. So every day I kind of just make sure at least on my main I'm getting through the dailies. And then if I have time for great, but usually I don't. And then other than Zakuming on all my Legion characters,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would say, obviously I do the Lotus and Damien weeklies, and then also I try and get as many bosses as I can defeat.
Mm-hmm.
Currently I can do up to 3 door. I haven't soloed Seavel yet, but I haven't also really spent that much time trying.
Okay.
And then I'm extremely close on Hard Golix, but have not defeated him yet. I know that's not a weekly boss, but
Yeah, no, it's
I'd
a
say,
significant progression boss, I would say, yeah.
yeah. So I think like in terms of like near-term goals, CVEL, CPEP, and then 20k stat, I think would be kind of what I'm working towards immediately.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know hard long-term where I'm just gonna kind of take it week
Yeah.
by week, month by month at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah, exactly. And what kind of funds would you say you make in like a week?
I think about a bill.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say about a bill. I'm super low right now, but after the emblem, but yeah, I think about a bill is typically what I can make between the characters.
Okay. Right, and so yeah, well, with 5, 10, 15 coming up, we'll of course kind of be focusing on that. Like, if there's any candidates immediately to work on that, and if you can see some direct progress for that, or if you need to do some direct like preparation for that.
Yeah.
But other than that, we'll just go through everything and then get your gear and see where we can get you the biggest gains.
Great.
All right. Oh yeah, and in sense of like enjoyment. So like, I guess you don't really do like those long, hard grinds. So it's more like slow and steady progress. I'm guessing, right? Because of the
Yeah.
time
Yeah. I think
restrictions.
like yeah, I
Hmm.
can do like on my main, I'll do on the weekends like 2 hours at one time max, and then I need to switch it up. So
Hmm.
um yeah, it's a little slow, but it's I enjoy it more, so I think that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone does it at their own pace. So I guess the last thing is, yeah, well, no, yeah, that kind of all falls into the same categories. Like, well, when it comes to like totems and stuff, you don't really need to go too hard with all of that, right? Like, you can't
Right.
really have the time to do those sessions. So maybe use a few in the week. So I guess it's pretty
Yep.
easy for you to have enough access to totems if you want them.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Okay. Cool.
Exactly. I usually always grind with the totem, MVP, and 2 times
Mm-hmm.
coupon.
Yeah, you could be a bit more picky, I guess, on when they're running, and then
Yep.
okay. All right. Yeah. Well, I guess since you put them in this order, we'll just go over everything in this order. Make sure everything's on point.
Sure.
I guess if I go through the stat window, there's not much that like jumps out at me. Like, well, probably a screenshot now would show that the crit rate is not 100, right? So that's probably
Yeah,
something that we
exactly.
we have to keep in mind. So we're about 15% short, I'm guessing.
Yes. And then the other thing I was seeing is boss damage is at 99% instead of 114. So that's the other 15% that
Right.
gotta
Right. True.
take
True.
it
True.
down.
Yeah. You do have a high base damage bonus though, so that does alleviate the demand for a lot of boss damage a little bit, and you rely
Hmm.
very heavily on final damage, of course, with
Right.
your infinity. So that's gonna be more of a thing to look at. But yeah, that is okay. That is something also to consider. And then the ID is a little bit on the high end, but of course we just saw the emblem, so we know exactly where that's coming from.
Yep.
Which could mean,
I
that in some other areas we might move things around a little bit,
Yeah, I
because
remember you saying that there was between the emblem and your secondary, like one of them can get boss damage and the other one can get crit rate or something like that. And then you should prioritize those on like whichever one, but I forget which one you had
yeah, the
said.
emblem can get so all three of them are very important because they all can get attack percent,
Hmm.
and then they can all get well, the weapons can get boss, so the main and the secondary weapon can get boss, but the emblem cannot get boss. But all three of them can also get IED. So if you had to get IED on something, that'd
Okay.
be preferably on the emblem, which you have, so that's like taken
Okay.
care of. If you get boss, that'd be preferable on the secondary because it's a lower level than the weapon
Got it.
typically. So that
Okay.
means you don't waste the percentages, right, from the 1310 to the
Hmm.
12-9. And then full attack, preferably on the weapon. But of course, you kind of throw all of the potentials onto one big pile, and then you try to, aim for a mix and match that makes sense for your account.
Right. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so we'll take all of that into account, of course. And then, yeah, so nothing too crazy there. I guess invulnerability wise, I haven't gone into like a full deep dive yet to see how KMS is handling the change with the invulnerability,
Hmm.
because I mean you do know about the change upcoming with the attack speed and everything.
No,
So they are
I
adding.
heard about it, but
Yeah, yeah. As far as I know, most mages, invulnerability-wise, you do want the attack speed in there.
hmm.
But they are adding it to the to the mastery or to the booster, adding an extra rank, one of the two, like a passive, or well, like if you do the regular buffing you do now, it'll apply. Which means that you will hit the attack speed cap that you are trying to get without adding the attack speed +1. Some people are saying that might mean you keep the invulnerability the same, but you just switch out the boost node.
Hmm.
Um, I think there's an option that what it actually means is that the meta will shift into invulnerability instead, and then try to get a higher buff skill duration. Now, if someone spent like a lot of money getting 38 on the second line and attack speed on the main and everything, they might not be too eager to roll over that, which is understandable. But that is something that might be on the change. So, I mean, just to be safe with that, and because of all the changes that are coming to invulnerability, another recent change in Tespia coming on the way, right? There's like, so there's like the visual change, so you can more clearly see what line everything is. They're going to change the cost of re-rolling, and locking is going to be completely eliminated, so it's going to be much cheaper. They reduced some lines, so the average cost is going to go down. And now they also changed the rates of getting epic and unique lines on second and third line, increased them by a substantial amount as well now in Tespia. So that's going to take another week to go live. So with all of that coming, I would say just don't touch your invulnerability at all. And just save up honor experience, exactly. And then once you really get down to really wanting to min max and everything, hopefully by then the dust is settled, people have figured out new best in slot and figured out what to go for, and then you can kind of like ride that wave of Trailblazers having made some mistakes and spending some resources, and then you can use that to your advantage later. So I guess that's the other thing I would mention with that. Other than that, we'll keep an eye on the boss damage to make sure that we get that from somewhere. You're in Earnest Guild. That's where Guardian's in, right? Although I don't know if he plays his Kinesis much anymore. You don't know Guardian?
No.
Okay. That's okay. Let's see. Okay. No, otherwise I don't see anything like crazy out of order. Which of the charts of mine and grids and everything are you familiar with?
Yeah, I know progression, some of the link skills. I think that there's a couple that I regularly use. I use progression a decent amount because I try and just make sure that everything's kind of in line with what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, if you're moving slow and steady, it's easy to make small course corrections. You don't have to. You don't want to get way out of the beaten path, right?
Yeah.
So I guess
it's I feel like stat wise I'm at a point where like I should be able to beat some bosses, but it's just mechanics wise that I need to just practice more. Especially because I used to play like around pre Big Bang and Big Bang update, and then I took like a 6 or 7 year hiatus. So either these bosses are new, or I just wasn't strong enough before to face them.
To ever try it, yeah.
Yeah. So this is still, especially the bosses that I'm getting into now are still pretty new for me. So.
Yeah, some of them definitely have a learning curve. I don't know if you've already dabbled a little bit in CPAP or not, but.
Yeah. Well, I watched your video and then I tried it and I failed miserably. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll happen a few times. That's to be expected.
Yeah.
I don't show all of the failures before my run either.
Right.
There was quite some frustration going on, and you just kind of have to figure out the attack patterns and where to go, where to stand.
Right. Actually, when we were talking, one thing I was thinking too is on the stat picture, I have a 10 hyper stat points in ignore defense. I feel like at this point, because I agree, I think 94 or 95 is probably a bit high. I could take it out of that and put it in crit rate, right?
That's something we can definitely do. That only gets you up 4 crit rate though, but it is definitely part of the way there. Right. And that'll probably be one of my suggestions as well, not to take all of it out. We want to keep a little bit. But we can definitely lower on some sources of IED. Another option, we'll get to it later, but another option could be to see if there's any crit rates, link skills that you have late to do. Maybe get rid of one of the link skills for IED and replace that one with a crit rate. It'll look weird to like get rid of the like rank 2 Lumi and put in the Explorer Archers or something, but if that's what makes sense for your account, then that's what we got to do, right?
Okay. And just for my benefit, like, what would you say is a target IED level that I should be looking for?
Yeah, so it's Yeah, it's a little rugged, right? Because the level ranges are quite big in the game stages
Yeah,
now. I try to keep it. Yeah, it's the best I could do without making like 16 stages.
exactly,
um,
exactly.
but like 92 functional is fine, which means that if you don't have a lot going on functionally, which I think Ice Lightning doesn't have too much. I mean, you've got the Explorer, Mage, and you got your boost nodes. I don't know
Yep.
if you have any other debuffs that you put on the boss or built-in IED on your skills.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. So that means visually you want to adhere pretty close to that 92, maybe like 91, 92 is probably a good point
Okay.
to be at. Eventually, you know, if you're going like endgame and stuff, visually you probably want to be at this or even higher. But by then
Right.
there'll be a lot more sources that'll make that happen for you, and that's mainly the Superior Golic set, which is just, you know, that's a huge time gate, and it's getting to like 6k Legion and filling up the whole Legion board. That's mostly
Yeah,
those
for
two.
sure.
Yeah. And by then, you know, the emblem can be full magic attack.
Right.
Yeah. And then maybe familiars and stuff, yeah. Those can come in and those can bring like those big chunks that you need to compensate. But right now we can
Okay.
definitely rely and build around the emblem, because that's like a solid piece that we are not going to move on for quite a while. So we'll just
Right.
make sure that
Right.
all the other puzzle pieces fit around that to make sure that that luck that you have there, that becomes worth it, and that we capitalize the other stats. So yeah, hyperstats is definitely something we'll come back to, but hyperstats is
Okay.
definitely somewhere where we can probably go a little bit lower on ID and get scrounge some of that crit rate to get back to
Yeah.
to claw our
Perfect.
way back to 100%.
Okay.
That's with sharp eyes, by the way, right? The 85 that you had.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just
Yeah.
making sure. Okay, so chain light for orb 31, bulb rush 44. Are you familiar with the changes coming to Ice Lightning next patch?
No, but I know that there are changes. Apparently, is it we're getting a buff in bossing?
Yeah, situationally. So they're basically making the hitting of the bulb barrage more reliable, and in return reducing its damage. So anywhere where you could be bossing now and you could reliably hit all of it, you're probably going to see a nerf there in your damage. But on
Okay.
average, if the boss, right, because like if you can actually corner it, or there's a platform, right, that's for CPAP right now, for example, like that's really good, right, because you can get it near a platform, bulb barrage, and then it just hits at the end of the platform a bunch of times. It
Right.
goes like full hits. It does a lot of damage. That's not
Yeah.
going to be possible anymore. In the sense that, so the initial hits are going to be harder, but it's going to take reduced final damage per extra hit, and then I think which means I think the fourth hit and onward doesn't do damage anymore, but the initial hits are going to be harder. Plus, there's going to be a debuff on the boss with some of the one of the ice attacks, I think, that makes all lightning hits do more damage as well. So that in
Okay.
combination should make the damage more reliable, but like on the upper end go down a bit, but on the lower end should go up quite a bit. Let's see, ice. That's why it was also a little bit hard to say if it was a nerf or a buff. It was a little bit
Right.
tricky. And I think they're also
Small
changing the hyper skill a little bit. See if I can get this back. KMS. Is this the last
What's-
one? Wait, am I working
Is it
on
like a year lag, or is it a few months typically?
So this one, like the delay, you mean, between the servers?
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's a seasonal thing, then it's usually 6 months. But patches for like skill changes and stuff are typically non-seasonal, so that's typically about 4.5 months ish on a delay.
Okay.
It's all a little bit, you know, under revisement. Whether they cluster balance changes and stuff, sometimes they wait like a month later, so they can take like 3 patches in one and just do it in one go. Yeah, that just kind of depends. Where the Ice Lightning? Mid-July. Yes, yeah, so this is the one that we're waiting for. So these are like, I think we had some of these changes already, like a few small ones, but it's mainly this big one that we're waiting for.
Yeah.
Yeah, loads of stuff, like extra skill, and new animation and stuff for Dark Knight. New stuff for Paladin. Oh yeah, here. Thunderstorm will now instantly move to you instead of disappearing if you move too far away. That's kind of nice, because it's really annoying that it just disappears, right?
Yeah.
The little cloud dude. Okay, I can't.
Oh yeah, that essentially, like if you're training it, it's essentially a useless skill because
Yeah,
you're trying to move around so fast and
Mm-hmm. he'll hit like 4 times and then like boop, and then just poof,
Yeah.
you know. So
Yeah.
now he just snaps to you. That's quite nice. I mean, it's not like it's a huge part of your DPS, but yeah, just a little bit of utility.
Right.
So the effect will remain on enemies that were not stunned. I don't know. So lightning sphere damage increased from 105 to 150%, and finish attack damage increased from 350% to 780.
Oh wow.
Minimum cooldown duration has been decreased from 8 seconds to 3.6, and cooldown decreased from 75 seconds to 60 seconds. So essentially, you'll be able to use it more often, and you won't have to use it as long to confirm as much as your damage. So it's like designed to I think I read minimum, but maximum key down. So, you know, on bosses that move around or bosses that aren't bound as long, this is going to be a huge help to confirm the damage faster. And then Thunderbreak damage increased from 1500 to 1750, and number of hits increased from 8 to 12. Final damage reduction for multiple hits increased from 5% to 20%. So, so it's 5 hits, I guess, and then the 6th one and onward won't deal damage anymore. But I mean, for mobbing, it should help a little bit that you have more attacks going through the map for big maps, so you should be able to hit a lot further. Spirit of Snow will be applied by Buff Freezer, and then Jupiter Thunder number of hits increased from 5 to 8. Cooldown increased from 75 to 120. That's, I mean, in one hand it's a nerf, but on the other hand it does synchronize better with all of the party buffs now.
Right.
And this one goes to 60 exactly. So instead of using both at 75, you use this one twice, or you use this one once. So it's like just a different desync, and a cooldown reduction per remaining number of attacks has been. Oh, that is not how you spell that word. Increased from 2.2 seconds to 3.4. So that's also quite nice. That could mean that you can use it still a decent amount of time.
Right.
And it increases the final damage of lightning skills that hit enemies being shocked by Jupiter Thunder by 12%. So you throw this one out, throw that one out, throw a Thunderbreaker out, and then you do get 12%. Final damage more on those skills, So that should, you know, on those intense bossing situations like in Hard Lucid, like Phase 3, it might mean that this is only like a small increase because of the Thunderbreak losing a lot of damage. But I think in most other situations where you aren't able to reliably put out Thunderbreak, it should be a decent buff. So, especially for bossing, because bossing-wise, I think Ice Lightning was lagging a little bit behind the other mages.
Yeah.
And this should help them catch up quite a bit. So that's quite something nice to look forward to. We're expecting that at the end of the current event, so hopefully late September or early October somewhere.
Okay, great.
So that should be cool. But yeah, nothing major there. The major changes is the I don't know if that's also in this one, the attack speed. Yeah, that's also in this one where the attack speed changes. So it's part of. MP increase now increases attack speed by 1 stage. Yeah, that's going to be part of the 1.2.348. Is that? Hang on, let me double check.
So that would kind of make the hyper skill or the inner ability less valuable a little bit. If I can get it through.
Well, that would make your current inner ability more valuable.
Yeah.
Comparatively, yeah. Oh, this is 1.3.48, and the other one is 1.344. Yeah, so it is possible, excuse me, that they delay this job bands a little bit and then just throw everything into one giant pile, because this is also quite a lot of stuff going on. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how they how they roll that one out. All right, so we can. Well, when it comes to the Matrix and everything, I don't know if you have any questions there. So I guess the attack speed is in there to say.
No really questions. I think currently I have like, I guess I have Chain Lightning in only 2 out of the 3 skill nodes. And I guess that's okay for now, right?
Yeah, eventually you go for 2, right? So that they're up to 25 and a 5, and then go up to 30. Some people do that thing where they have them in 3 or 4 nodes in the beginning to to boost them way faster. I'm just familiarized with the boost nodes: Lightning Orb, Chain Lightning, Frozen Orb, and then Blizzard, Elkiness, Thunderstorm's probably not as important. That's just like a filler to get some of the damage out. Yeah,
actually, so the 3 main skill nodes that I have, one's Chain Lightning, one's Frozen, and one's Lightning, and then I have like Chain Lightning or Lightning Orb on as like secondaries on some of them as well.
Wait, Aquafina says they still need attack speed. Enter, they were at 1. Oh, were they? Wait, hang on. Exclamation mark, attack. If everything goes well, then it should be on here. Total 1. Ah, okay. Well, then that means I can just axe this. And does that go for fire poison as well? Oh, what about Bishop? Bishop was already at 0. So Bishop didn't get it? Oh, Bishop does get it. Oh, so Bishop wants a different one. Bishop goes to 0 for bossing only. Right. Right, and for bombing you'd still want it because of the attack speed memes. Right, okay. Okay, well, that we got that cleared up. So that does mean you still want to get attack speed plus 1. But again, that's a long-term project, so saving up honor experience, min-maxing later. Maybe by that time, KMS has already come up with another change. Who knows? And then that changes again. So,
Right.
yeah. So when it comes to the Matrix, I think it all looks pretty solid. The one thing I would change is I would get decent advanced blessing out of there. That doesn't do all that much. That's like for location-wise, that's probably one you throw in there when you're like here or something.
Right. And I think should I be replacing it with mana overload? I've heard that some people use that.
Yeah, even at level 1, I believe it's 7% final damage. That's very useful. The other thing that you could use, of course, that was also very useful, I think, is a decent holy symbol. Extra extra drop rate and holy experience. And for bossing, you take it out for mana overload, probably. Yeah. If you're still like new learning the boss, you could also take it out for ethereal form, just to get a little bit more survivability. And then later on, it's not at this point, but later on, like when you're around here, I think, maybe here, then sometimes people throw in the unreliable memory for the off chance of hitting infinity once in a billion times. I believe people at that point also reset their AP out of the low-level skills, to increase the chances, which is probably worth it, because a lot of those skills that you have as Nice Lightning, you don't use at all anymore.
Right.
You pretty much exclusively use fourth job skills and buffs, that's it, right?
Pretty much. Oh, yeah.
If there's anything...
Yeah. Other than buffs, it's
because the bind, the chain lightning, the frozen orb, it's all in fourth. Yeah. Or is frozen orb third? No. No, that. Hang on. Phantom.
No, frozen orb is.
Oh no, it's fourth. Yeah, it's fourth. Yeah. No, it's cross surge and holy symbol that you steal. Yeah, never mind. Okay. Yeah. Other than probably throw in the holy symbol if you get it, and you can throw in, of course, ethereal form until you do. If for mobbing, it's extra final damage as well, which is always useful. You'll use a bit more. You'll actually start using MP potions, but it's not like that's the end of the world these days, right? You got enough arcane power, so you're not taking much damage there. Right. So it's not like you're, swimming in debt to get to potions. So other than that, I think it's going quite well. Yeah, you just need that perfect set of nodes, but you'll get there eventually, and then pretty soon you'll get an extra slot. You could throw that fourth node in there, and then have everything boosted up. When it comes to priorities for your skill nodes, I guess, after you're done with the boost nodes, typically I go until they're like low 20s in level, and then I start focusing more on the skill nodes. I'm not sure which one does like the biggest chunk of your damage. Right now it's probably the lightning barrage if if you're in a good situation, right?
Yeah, I think it obviously I think it depends whether I'm bossing or training, but I think I think my two priorities, at least for training, would be Bolt Barrage and Ice Age.
Ice Age pretty useful for mobbing. If that can reliably kill, then you can just go around the map and loot, not use any time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that really helps keep up your rates.
But then for bossing, I guess Lightning Orb is... I use Lightning Orb a lot for bossing in Jupiter Thunder.
Yeah, Jupiter Thunder seems to do quite a bit. I'm almost at the Ice Lightning Mage for Project CRA. I'm kind of looking forward to that one a little bit more than Ilium. I've been stuck on getting to do the Ilium for too long, I think. But actually, maybe I'll do that today because I didn't really have anything planned for today. Let's do that. So I can go through that so we can get to Ice Lightning. Yeah, because they do have. Yeah, I don't know. Historically, I always saw Ice Lightning as just like a mobber, and then for bossing, kind of
Right.
poop. But they do have some stuff going on. I think that Jupiter Thunder really rounded out their kit quite a bit. It was interesting to see when Fifth Job first came out how certain classes didn't really change much from what they already were. They just got a little bit stronger.
Mm-hmm.
But then with the whole Fifth Job kit, a lot of classes were, especially the Explorers, really came more into their element and developed like the character that the class has,
Right.
and really rounded out with the different pieces. Still mainly a mobber, of course, but can also do some formidable bossing now, so that's good to see.
Yeah, it helps. Our bind helps too because it
Hmm.
reduces magic and weapon defense, and it's also pretty long as well.
Yeah, it's one of the. Is it the longest non
I think
kind of
it's.
bind?
I think if you hold the key, it's like 13 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's an iframe as well, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
So if panicking,
Right.
that's gonna be tricky though in a boss fight where you with a Kana, you don't want to accidentally be the one who binds with your iframe, so you gotta be a little bit careful.
Yeah.
I
That's
guess
true.
Lumis have the same problem. Their bind iframe is also combined, and I think Cadena's as well. So it's same problem for those classes. But yeah, all of that looks pretty well in order. So the Legion is going up a little bit. What's the main? So you said we're doing Zakun with a bunch of characters. Get that A rank. I see a bunch of 130s and 134s. I like to see that. That's a lot of easy
Yeah.
levels every day.
It pretty much just takes me like, a few hours to get to 100, and then I just think, pick a new one to start with. I've only been playing for like 2 months, 2.5 months maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I think that Legion's probably what it just takes time. So
Yep.
I'm building it up, but um, I think at this point I think another week and I'll have all three Explorer Mages up to 120.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean I looked at your guides for which ones should I prioritize. So I think I probably have a lot of the main ones, but I'm curious to hear if there's any that you think I should focus on, just given where my stats are at.
Oh yeah, sure. So crit rate wise, we've got the Marksman and the Night Lord. Do we have those?
No.
Well, then that's probably
Yeah.
what I would.
Nice and easy.
Yeah, because I mean, even if you just get him to level 140, that's like, is it 3% each? I think.
Oh, the Explorer. Are you talking the Explorer Mages? Or not the? Sorry, the Explorer Archers.
Well, not even, right? Because Marksman and Night Lord just give it by themselves from the Legion buff as well.
Okay.
If you have them on the board. Yes, at 140, that'd be 3% for each, so that'd be 6. And then Marksman can double dip into the Explorer Archer Link skill as well, which stacks up to 10 if you have all three at 120 at least. So between those two, that could be 16% crit, which is like what we're looking for already.
Okay. Got it.
If you get all of those, and then well, we can look at your Link skill setup, but there's probably like one of them that's that's like on the peripheral of is technically still useful, but it's probably also, if you get rid of that, not that bad. And then if we replace
Right.
that one with the crit rate and we get you to 100, that'd probably overall be a beneficial change. Are there any changes in this, or is this the same picture 3 times?
No, the only thing that changes is the available link skills.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking if it was like a mobbing and a bossing setup, or.
No,
Right,
I guess this would technically be my bossing setup, and then the only thing I would do is replace 2 of them with
Room persistence and the Mercedes.
Yep,
Yeah. Elven Blitzer.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably what, like light wash and.
I think Bravado, maybe.
Yeah. Or like Spirit of Freedom, I guess, because Bravado does add some damage on the first hit, so for mobbing could also be useful.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I don't.
No, sorry, I was thinking of Spirit of Freedom
Yeah.
and Night's Watch.
And Lightwash, yeah, exactly, yeah. Those are the prime ones to move around. Yeah, you don't have like all of the link skills available yet, so that makes sense that you don't have 2 like completely distinct setups. That's totally fine. Yeah, you do have that. This is like your general setup for your Legion, like for both situations? Like for mobbing and for bossing and for mules and kind of everything?
No. So mules is what I'll typically do is I'll just fill out their main stat and then either magic attack or attack.
Yeah.
Um, just because I feel like, under 140, I think that's probably the most beneficial. And then this is what I typically keep on my mage.
I'd say for mules, crit rate is probably the most important stat.
Okay.
Yeah, because like if you hover over critical damage, you can see that even if you have zero critical damage, there's already 20 to 50% extra damage, which is a final damage multiplier on critical hits if you do hit a critical. And one of the main ways that you can make low-level characters stronger and just get more experience is actually by pumping their critical rate so that all of your critical damage applies. So I would keep pretty much the same setup, like fill out the critical rate, fill out the critical damage, connect the two, and then just have stat and magic or weapon attack, whatever they want to have in the middle, kind of just the same as what you have here. And then as you go to 3K, they'll probably stay roughly the same. And then as you go to 4K, you probably have to choose one of the two sides. It's just essentially, a lot of classes do end up with 100% crit rate, but they start off first, second, and third job building up to those skills. And if you already give them the crit that early, you can get them up to level 100 way easier, and then you can get them to Zakum territory, and then they get their own crit, and then you don't have to worry about them anymore.
Got it.
Because right now there's still power in numbers, right? There's still 23 more characters that you can add that would lend their levels to the Legion if they just get to 70. 23 times 70, that's 1610. So that's like 4K Legion right there.
And can you only get character slots through events?
No, in Genesis, in the shop, you can buy character expansion slots. Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say I have like 4 more, but I just never ran into that issue where I needed the characters. But okay.
Yeah, it depends. If you go like mass production, then you can run out real quickly. But if you just do it like slowly, one at a time, there's definitely like a quality quantity thing going on. I think in the beginning, I think it's mainly about, well, not exactly just about quantity, right? Because if you go too fast, you spend all your money on character scrolls. Because if you just only get to like 60 or 70, you don't really make your money back. But if you get to 100 and then eventually to 140 with all the boss crystals and stuff, you make more than your money back pretty quickly, right?
Sure.
And then so as soon as money's not really that much of an issue anymore, I would say like mass produce Legion dudes, get those 40 characters in, because that's just easy 4K, right? Like getting 60 levels now on characters that are already level 130 versus getting it on a character that's level 0. Sure, some have some introductory quests that are a little bit long, but getting those first 60 levels is a cakewalk, especially if you already have some Legion and Link skills to help you, and the more you have, the faster the next characters will go. So, yeah, just follow that the Link skill like progress general thing, like focus a little bit more on the crit rate now to make sure that we get those out. That'll make it so, well, actually you're oh no, that's a Blade Master. Yeah, I was going to say if the Phantom is 202, you could also consider getting that one to 210 for that extra 5%. That's also an option. But the Phantom isn't quite that high, so. Where's he at? Is he at 129? So he's barely getting that level 2 Link. So a little bit far off of the level 3 Link there.
Yeah, I think it'll be good once I get a lot of these characters to 142, and it just opens up the other.
Yeah, 3K is huge, right? Because you get 5 extra characters on the board with 2.5 to 3K upgrades, so that's really big. And then just with 4K, once you have the 4 of the outer, or 2K, 3K, 4K, 3 of the outer rims available, that's a lot of critical damage and all the critical rate you want to get. So every new character is immediately maxing out their crit rate, huge chunk of critical damage, and just start slapping things all the way up until like level 60 or 70 probably before you stop one-shotting. And at that point, you're just riding it out until 100, and you start Zakuming it up. It's gonna be and then you just, and then 6K is like a logical extension from that. Going past 6K is way more of a commitment, and that's usually going to be driven by events and stuff. I don't know if you're doing the AFKing now to level up at least a few characters that maybe a little bit more stubborn.
Yeah.
Maybe the Mercedes, I'm guessing. Trying to see if you can get that one up to 200.
Yep.
That's probably a good fix. Yeah, but other than that, I think you're on the right path. I don't see an arc yet. Arc is pretty pretty strong on the link skill. That's a very solid one, both for mobbing and for bossing. You know, very easy to keep 100% uptime, so it's usually a crowd favorite.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Well, this is exactly what I wanted. Just a few more
Mm-hmm.
classes to work on.
Yeah. You don't have a 0, right?
No, I don't. But I don't think I can make a 0 right now.
Yeah. No, I was checking. Yeah, no 0 MB Simmer not available for creation right now, sadly. I think at KMS they're trying to make 0 just permanently creatable. So, but we will still have to wait until that
Yeah, what's the
trickles down.
reason behind that?
I think it's just FOMO. They're trying to
Okay.
kind of force people to come back during the event so that they know they can make the classes, and also make people feel like they have to play and make the characters because it's not going to be available again. Just some level of exclusivity, I think, is just a
Got it.
little bit of psychological warfare with the community. I
Yeah.
think. I mean, it's probably smart from their end to do it, but yeah, it just feels like a huge unnecessary hurdle as a player, of course.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and then I guess the critical damage ones after that, right? Once you get that 100% crit sorted, the Shade, Jet, Hayato are very, very solid to start working on the critical damage. And then
Yep.
you'll see the critical damage from the board coming in, from those members coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that'll just make a huge difference for your visual critical damage. It'll probably almost double from where it is now. And you'll just see your hits hit way harder.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like because you don't really want to go over 100% critical rate, so I feel like it's just going to be a trade-off between
Mhm.
as I get more crit rate, I'm going to supplement with crit damage pretty much.
Yeah, mainly a Legion board, right? You can
Yep.
move stuff around. Yeah, and if
Yep.
the link skills get higher, then wait, you did have a beast hammer, didn't you? Because I saw the
I
link
did.
skill. Yeah. Okay, I just didn't. I just looking over it because it probably looks the same as. Oh, here it is. Yeah, it looks like the same as all the other mages. Doesn't really stand out as much. The
Right.
scepter isn't really that impressive. Okay. Anything else with Legion and links that you
No,
have a question about?
no, this has been helpful.
Good. Yeah, so link skill wise, you'll get more things to access to, especially with the boss's CRA and above. Building more in the spirit of freedom is very useful because you will die, and depending on your level of lag, 2 seconds can be over before you even land. I don't know if you've done HMAG already.
In a party,
Yeah.
but not solo.
One of the things, if you do die and then the green mist on the side, and like that stuff is very, very annoying. So if the Spirit of Freedom lasts a little bit longer, you can make sure that you don't accidentally get caught in that. Get caught in a respawn in Lotus and the laser when you get to that point. Respawning at C-Vel and, a tail popping up a little bit late and then still like nicking you before you can move it away from the spawn location. Just a few more levels in Spirit of Freedom are usually very useful. Even like 4 to 6 is already a world of difference to just level 2. But other than that, I think you've got all the solid ones. Night's Watch is also getting reworked in one of the upcoming stuff where the level 2 duration is going to be very long and is easily going to be 100% uptime. I think already because of mages having the proclivity to go for buff duration, I think the level 2 typically already has 100% uptime if you get enough eventually. But oh yeah, that's another one I guess. For buff duration you have the mechanic, right? I don't know if you have that one already.
I do have a mechanic, yeah.
Okay.
But he's only one. Oh, I guess he
Oh yeah,
does have
128.
level 2.
Yeah, he does get the level 2, yeah. For him you want the level 140, right? You want the Legion buff.
Yep.
That'll be 15% buff duration. That's really, really solid. And it'll help with the knockback resistance and it'll help with your infinity, so that'll be really cool. But yeah, other than that, you'll just slowly build it out, and then you'll see more diversity. But we'll keep a mental note that you have Lightwash and Bravado in now, because that's good to know for the IED as well.
Right.
But yeah, like I was saying, we could temporarily, if you go for harder on archers and you equip those instead of Bravado. For bossing, that might even still be a good idea, because then you could even go down in crit rate hyperstats and maybe go up in boss damage and damage instead.
Okay.
Or
that makes sense.
Or for bossing, move the Legion pieces into boss damage, something like that.
Right.
So there's options there to move around. But yeah, like I said, we were using the emblem as the basis, and then we're moving everything else around that.
Yep. Yep.
Because we're not just randomly gonna re-roll your potentials to be like, oh, because because I want the Legion to stay the same. No. Hopefully those hyperstep presets come out soon as well. That's something I'm looking forward to a lot. You just click. I'm gonna mob, click number 2. I'm gonna boss, click number 1, and just be done with that. Because the other thing, oh, and you don't have to mention here. Do you have anything in terms of familiars?
No. I knew how the system worked back in, when I used to play years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's changed, but I just haven't spent time to focus on it.
Yeah, it's changed quite a lot. So in the past, a familiar would have a certain ability, and then you could like, if I remember correctly, because you had those giant red marbles, right, with the Chinese symbol in it or Japanese symbol in it.
Yep.
And that would deplete. Yeah, so these days, any familiar card can get any line from a certain pool of lines. That just depends on its rarity. So there's just like common, rare, epic, unique, and legendary. Legendary is like pretty much non-existent in Reboot. It's only like a super, super rare boss drop, or a very small chance if we get red cards, which we almost never get as a tier up chance on unique cards. So like legendary is pretty much out of the picture. Common and rare are the two that drop from monsters. And epic and unique can only be gotten through ranking up your so rare card can rank up into epic, and an epic card can then rank up into unique. And every tier of potential just has just a list of potentials that it can be, and then that's it. And every single familiar kind of comes with like hidden potential, and you just click it, and then you reveal what is on there. And like 90+% of them are just going to be garbage, and then you're looking for those diamonds in the rough that hopefully will help your account. So in the beginning, when you get started, if you want to fuse and you want to rank up to the higher tier, you need a lot of the same cards. Like you can only fuse the same monstrous card onto the rare card that you have to try to rank it up, to tier it up. So usually in the beginning, since you're shifting in areas so much, or you get into areas where cards don't drop, it's pretty common in the beginning to have shit all for familiars. So that's perfectly normal. The way you can kind of supplement your familiars in the beginning is if you're working on Legion and you do train a bit and you do get cards that you just all transfer them through the storage and you open them all up on your main to try to get something. So the only thing you're looking for in the beginning is just common and rare cards. The best thing you can get is 15% ignore enemy defense. That's possible on both common and rare. Small amounts of healing can be nice, but are not super necessary to look out for. The best thing you can get for rare would be increases item drop rate without prefix or suffix. That would be really cool. But if you can get item drop rate for like a small amount, anything helps, of course. I don't know. The old system. Do you still have the spider?
I know about. I started a new account, so I don't have. The spider,
okay. You don't have the spider.
But I know. I used to have it. My other
so now any familiar can basically get those lines or more likely not get those lines when you reveal them, so the guarantee is gone. But every card essentially to itself has the same value, actually more value if the card drops in an area where you can farm them and get a lot of them, because then you can also rank them up and get access to those higher tiers. So it's not until you get to epic that there's a chance to get boss damage. And up to unique when there's like a decent chance for boss damage. So until you get to an area where you're like grinding regularly and you're able to get cards with, at this point, the lowest level area where that is would be Morass if you train there. So that's still a ways away. And then Esfera, and then all of Tenebris is basically where people start hardcore farming cards and then leveling up their familiars, fusing them up to get the rank up, and then hopefully the epic line is good. If it's not good, you can throw it up to unique if you have a lot of cards, or you could just make a bunch of epics. That'll kind of depend on if you're swimming in the cards or if you're just, trying to do power by numbers by mass producing epics. So if you can get IED there, and also you start with 1 slot for your familiar, but you can work up to 3. The second slot is very easy to unlock. You just need 1 set to complete it in your badges. Which, like the 3 little guys next to Edelstein, they were like the easiest set to get for your what was it called, the Codex before. They're also the easiest set right now. So if you get those 3 cards and you put them in your what is it called? The familiar manager. There you go. Then you can have one badge unlocked, you get an extra quest, and then you get your second slot. But if you want the third slot, you need 10 badges, so that's significantly harder. It's fine to have 2 for now. If you're mobbing, any kind of drop rate, and then whatever gives you a little bit of defense. The defense of the familiar is going to determine how quickly your familiar gauge goes down. So if you have more defense on your familiars, it's going to stay up longer.
Okay.
So it's like it's counterintuitive, but it's like better to summon more familiars than fewer. It's a little bit weird. And then when it comes to bossing, hopefully you can get 2 with 15% IED. For me, on average, between all my characters, usually it was like around like 180 to 190 cards to open until I have 2 of them. So that's like kind of the expectation. Like 1 in 100 is like around a good number. And it seems that common cards actually have a better rate than rare cards, because rare cards have more lines, and I don't think they're weighted, so they seem to have more variance actually, even though they're higher rarity.
Okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So that if you can get the ID there, that would mean even more flexibility and link skills that we can get rid of, or even all the hypersets that we can get rid of for now. But until then, we're not moving all that much, right? We still want to keep you north of 90, probably 91, 92-ish visual IED, so we're not going to be scraping away too much. But I'm thinking like the Bravado, if we can get more crit rate, what it would be, you would have to get the Explorer archers though, so until you have that one, you're kind of stuck with what you have now. But it's not bad to have a lot of IED, as long as it doesn't go at the expense of damage. It just means more of your damage is coming through. But now I guess we can focus more on increasing that damage that is going through, so you can see more direct results of it.
Okay. Makes sense.
Alright, so in the situation that you are now, so you are in full CRA?
Yeah, so I'm like 1 week away from Abso weapon. So I tried to keep my Fafnir at Epic, so I can just transfer. I think my crux is the alien fragment set, which I still have. And so I think I'm about maybe 2 or 3 days away from a superior pendant. But I don't think there's just like no one item that is gonna at least immediately replace the alien fragment set. At least, you know, everything. Like even when I look at the superior pendant, I still lose about 400,000 in range, which I understand is not the end all be all, but it's still
for mobbing. It's representative.
So I feel like that's kind of where I'm stuck a little bit. And then in terms of like upgrading and stuff,
is the weapon the last piece, by the way? Yeah, that's the 5th piece, right?
Yeah, weapon is the last piece.
Okay.
In terms of upgrading, I pretty much just try and take like whenever I have like 1 or 2 bill, I'll just take an item and just try and get it to legendary, and then just once it's at legendary, I just try and get some percent of int, and just as long as I have that, I'm okay, and then I focus on the next item. So I would say I'm like maybe 40 or 50% of the way through, maybe a little more.
Of getting to legendary, you mean? Or?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe like 40%. But there's like obviously the things that I know I'm not going to keep and I'm going to replace fairly soon. I'm keeping at like Epic and just
yeah, and the top and the hat and the top I saw you keep at unique at 15%. That's also really good to do because they gain a lot of junk lines when they get the legendary, and it actually gets really expensive in legendary to roll good lines on CRA. So those are particularly good pieces to keep at unique longer and force other items to legendary instead.
Yeah, we can pretend I meant to do that.
Yeah. Well, that was totally like it was a happy little accident. Because they actually have a really. It's not really an accident because they have a higher chance of rolling good lines at unique, so you were more likely to get 15 and not want to roll them to legendary because they were already better. But I will like tell people to just stay on unique and roll like I don't know like 15 or 18 or something, and even go to like 21 stars and just keep them unique and work on all the other stuff instead. And then once it's actually like 21 star stuff, then you can go up to legendary, because like the amount of money you have to throw at these to get good lines Ask
Right.
anyone who's like legendary cubed hats; they will tell you it's like a horror. And top is pretty bad as well. Pants is like the least bad of the three, but is also not great. You probably have to throw quite some cubes at that to even
Yeah.
get the 18. But yeah, CRA is low priority for cubing, high priority for star forcing, because it's a
Okay.
boss you have access to early. You get a lot of pieces, so you get a lot of backups early as well. So you can put way more pressure on the star force there, and then hold the gas, or keep the brake, hold the brakes, I guess, on what you want to say, on the potential.
Okay.
Yes, the alien fragment is huge with the 50 attack, but eventually we will have to move away from that. The one thing I will
Yeah.
say is like the major thing with the account. So like the weapon is changing. We're not going to do anything about that. We have a giant amount of IED in the emblem. I would say that those familiars might be a little bit more important than I think, but we can do better on the secondary. Even though these are like
Okay.
all useful lines, the IED is actually not helping us that much at this point.
Right.
The damage is basically, compared to a boss damage line, like a third or a quarter
Yeah.
of a line. So this is basically like a 1.3 line item at this point. But there is a better secondary that we want to get. So we can hold on to this one and use this one for now and start working on the other secondary. And then when the next secondary overtakes this one, then we can switch out. So this is still like a good placeholder. And it's probably already proven its weight in gold along the
Yep.
way anyway. So it was definitely a good investment. So the secondary that we're going for is the Deimos Mage Shield. And you
Okay.
get the recipe from Normal Cygnus. So if you're
Okay.
not doing that boss yet, you want to do that one and possibly boost some drop rate. Which brings us into the next thing. Because you're like limited in your time that you can play and your resources, if you take your money and you primarily focus on getting more int, your character will get a lot stronger. However, you're still you're not speeding up the growth of your account as much. So what we want to move towards is actually a set of equipment with drop rate and Meso obtain, so that when you're
Okay.
training you make more money, which seems like a detour, but you'll make your money back way faster. You'll start working on extra sets of equipment, and then when you want to solidify, like, okay, this is the set for damage, this is the set that I'm only going to wear if I'm mobbing, you'll be able to distinguish between the sets, and you'll get eventually to where you want to go faster, even though it feels like a detour now because you're
Yeah.
investing in less damage. But that utility
No,
is
that
going to
makes
pay
sense.
off.
Okay.
Plus, once your Legion comes online and you can start getting Legion wealth coupons, you combine that with the Meso obtain and the drop rate, you're going to start making some serious rates, especially if you throw in some totems and Ice Lightning's endemic really good base mobbing. You're going to see some nice returns when you're training, and that'll just pay off that when you sit on that money that you make, and then an event rolls around, you'll be able to go like big spender and make huge gains.
Okay.
So, with that being said, since the items are already legendary, but they're not like perfect full 3 line, that does mean that you're, I think, in a good position to re-roll those. You will lose some intellect there, of course, you will lose some damage there, but what you're relying on mainly for your damage is going to be good potential and good star force on your CRA, your Abzo, and then good levels of boost nodes and good arcane power. Like, that's where your damage needs to come from, not so much from your accessories. Your accessories are going to be there to give you Mesoptane and to give you the drop rate. And then once you can kill reliably with that, that'll allow you to also get into bossing. And then the link skills in the Legion are mainly there to help you with the bossing, right? They give you the crit rate, crit damage, IED, boss damage. That's going to come from those departments. And then that'll allow you to kill enough bosses to get the good pieces. And then with those pieces, you can start making your boss set. And that'll be predominantly, that'll be like around, like Lotus Damien and then Helix, like that clump of bosses basically. And then once you have all of those pieces, that'll set you up for Lucid and beyond basically.
Okay.
So now we're kind of at the point where we do have to make some specific moves. I would say, like, so when it comes to potential, like working on that shield, that's going to be a big thing. Hopefully, hopefully you can get a recipe and make a shield. So you need smithing at level 10.
I have that.
Yeah, okay, cool. Do you have any recipes already? Have you been doing normal Cygnus?
I don't think I have any recipes, but I have been doing normal Cygnus.
Yeah, it may drop everyone. It drops a bunch of recipes, so you may have just like NPC them even if you got them. It's perfectly normal. But yeah, try to boost your drop rate as much as possible. And try to get those recipes. You need a new recipe every time you make a shield. If you do get one recipe, for example, like before the 5, 10, 15, you probably just want to safeguard the shield up and see if you can get it like the 15 or the 17, like depending on how much money you have, of course. Because it is a lower level item, but it does also get the magic attack once you go above 15. So it does pretty quickly get pretty nice if you can get it to 17. And then you start.
Oh, so that you can Star Force that shield.
Yeah, exactly. It can go up to 20. Yeah, and that's why eventually it gets a lot better than the current one. Yeah, the base stats are lower, but because of the Star Force, it gets way better.
And I can't transfer, right? Actually, I guess I wouldn't want to transfer. Well, it would
yeah,
transfer
transferring
this epic potential. That's it.
Yeah, transferring it comes at the cost of a Star Force, but since the base item cannot be Star Forced, you can never transfer it to anything.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it was fun while it lasted, and it did help you, and it's gonna help you a little bit more until you get the shield. But the shield will just take over, and into perpetuity will, or until something crazier comes along. But we'll we'll get you there. So the main things of investment would be to get to work on getting the shield. That's not going to be a crazy expense, probably just a Star Force expense for now, but like potential wise is not the biggest priority. Potential wise, what would be the biggest priority is your weapon, right? We want to get double lines of magic attack on there on legendary preferably, and a good flame. And hopefully get that one to 17 stars during the 5, 10, 15. That'll be big. And then after that, it would be recubing your gloves. So gloves are nice in the sense they're already legendary, so that's cool. But gloves can get critical damage on them. And if we get that critical rate fixed, the critical damage on the gloves is going to do wonders for your damage. Your range will go down, right? Because intellect is gone, but your damage will actually go up. So that's going to be
This was like an example of an item where I pretty much just got to legendary, rolled something decent, and then stopped.
Yeah, just get anything, get like a good line, and then move on to the next one. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so comparatively in the beginning, getting everything to legendary versus what you sell for is like a huge percentage, right? Like you spend 80% of the cost getting up to legendary, and then like 10 or 20% of the cost is like just rolling something decent. Exactly, but eventually getting up to legendary is going to be like 10% of the total cost of actually getting what you want in the item, or maybe even less. So if you already made that initial investment, we want to capitalize on that a little bit harder. So so we get that crit damage. The shield is going to be an expenditure for a little bit later. The weapon is probably going to be a slightly earlier expenditure. But like the other Abso potentials are all fine. Like the shoes 21, the capes at 17. Like for now, that's fine. Shoulders at 23. Like that's all good. I wouldn't really touch that. Or the potential on the CRA, right? The question is, do we want to throw a lot of money into the accessories to get that drop in Meso set now, or do you want to save the money for the 5, 10, 15 first, see if you can get some stuff, right? Because I said like the damage has to come from your Abso and everything, right? If that's still at 12 and doesn't have like the amazing flames and potential, then going down from your damage set to drop in Meso set might actually kill your kill speed. Which is not what we want. Like if you get all the utility, but your kill speed goes down by half, then you're not gaining anything there. So it might be better to wait out the Star Force event first, and then see how much we go down there, and try to work on, because you do have backups for CRA, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Probably work on trying to get
I just have the emblems though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then you can just double click them, and you have at least like 5, 6 backups for each of them.
Yeah. Okay. But I didn't like, they're not like items that are like epic or anything. But
yeah, no, because you'll get the trace right when you blow it up. You know how item tracing works.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so I wouldn't safeguard the CRA then. You could, if you want, just for the last star, like 16 to 17, you could safeguard that one if you want. Because having to do the whole thing again is a little bit annoying.
I guess what's like a common strategy for going from 12 to 16? Is it just brute force and protecting?
Yeah, so when you have a lot of backups, you typically just don't safeguard. You just disable star catch, disable, and you just like click. Like you'll physically like move the screen of star forcing, so so that the OK button and where you click Star Force overlap and just like click, and just send it basically.
Right.
So that'll be the case for the hat and for the pants. Yeah, ideal situation is you do that during a 30% off to get to 15, and then you sit on 15 for a while, wait for a 5, 10, 15, and then do the last two. But you know, the order of the Sunday Sundays determines whether you can do that ideal scenario or whether you just have to send it a little bit early. Which in this situation, probably send it just a little bit early. It's not a huge difference in money. It's just like not perfectly optimal. For Abzo, you probably want to safeguard that. The chance of booming is not very high, but if you're going to do all the Abzo and they're all at 11 or 12, there's a very good chance that at least one of them or two of them don't see the light of day, and you have to do all of those dailies and weeklies again, and it's a shit show. So those might be pretty expensive as a result. So I do the CRA first, try to get that to 17, and then probably safeguard the weapon up because it also gets a lot of magic attack up to 15, which the other ones don't. And then look at your money there and then see what you have left. If you only have like a few bill left, there's a good chance that the Abzo won't see 17 anyway, so it might be better to spend the money at that point on the accessories to redo a few of them to get the Meso and the drop rate. That'll allow you to make the money back more, and then the next time you see a 30% off, that'll be your sign to get everything to 15 with that. Then you can sit on 15 for a while and then wait until the next 5 to 15, and then you send everything to 17.
Okay.
Because, yeah, with a fairly small investment, you can already start making serious gains, I think, in your accessories, right? In the sense of getting the Meso and the drop rate. But we will need the other pieces to be a little bit more in tune first to make sure that the loss of, exactly, the loss of intellect. Ideally, so for drop rate and Meso, you get 9 pieces, right? With the drop rate and Meso obtain. 5 Meso obtain stacks up to 100%, so we want to get 5 with Meso obtain and then 4 with drop rate. So we can see some piece. Yeah, we would take the pieces that are already legendary, and that eventually will turn into dropper Meso gear anyway. And considering your income, I'm not gonna say like get a second set first and see how that goes, right? Like ideally, I would say for the eye and the face, see if you can get the monocle and a tattoo. I talked about that last progression session as well. See if you can get the monocle and a tattoo. If those happen to roll into intellect and more than this one, then you can be very free to just re-roll these because you're not losing any functionality. If those happen to roll drop or Meso, then you can use them for drop or Meso and keep using these ones for damage. And that way you get optimal money back. But I don't know if you're going to have the cash to both spend on the 5, 10, 15 and go for the extra accessories and get those up to legendary. That might be a luxury that you don't have.
Yeah.
What kind of money are you rocking right now?
Like right this second?
Mm-hmm.
Only like 500 mil.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So that'll be.
But I just cubed the emblem yesterday. So that's why.
Yeah, that's why.
I have the monocle and the tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
But
they're just epic and no Star Force.
Yeah, they're just epic and yeah. So I need to transfer. Because those are the ones where you need to transfer over the stats, right? Because they can't.
Well, so for so you meaning transfer? Well, so transposing is a thing. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, sorry, transpose.
Yeah, so transposing is that's only for the monocle and for the pendant. Nothing else we can do any transposing with. There's just no items in that level region that we can transpose. And for the monocle, you're going to need the Papulatus mark, which is incredibly rare. So that's not something that you really have to worry about at this stage.
Okay.
Yeah, most people get to like 240, 250, 260 without even seeing one. So that's not really like a like anything to lose sleep over. And the pendant is usually once you're getting like everything to 17 star, and once you're filling out the full Superior Golic set. And that's when you're really going to get rid of all of the other floating accessory pieces, all of the remaining boss accessory and alien fragment ones that you might have. That's when you also switch the second pendant to like have a Dominator pendant and then transpose that into the Sweetwater pendant.
Yeah, I've been trying to find a Dominator pendant for like a month. I just have not.
Yeah, I know the drop rate is just bad. That's another reason why we want to get some drop rate in a set as well. to make sure
Yeah.
that we can make better progress with that. Also, with if you're doing Princess No with the kind of treasure rings, maybe with primals from Armor Arc, you know, like it helps in a lot of areas to make sure that the game can show you like, okay, here you have some backups, and then now you know where you can take more risk, or where it'll be less riskier, I guess, to go for upgrades rather than everything being just like, oh, I have one backup, or I only have one item, I have to safeguard everything, because that's really expensive.
Right. Right.
Um,
And so
yeah.
ultimately, the superior set going to replace, like, is that the next thing that's going to replace the alien fragment set? Or is there something in the meantime that I can replace it with?
No, pretty much. Like the only other step would be to go like full boss accessory set.
Yeah.
But the main value in that is that you can get the ID and the boss damage on the high levels, but those are both things that I don't think is worth going for. And since you the limited playtime you have and the limited resources you have, I don't think that detour is going to be giving you enough.
Worth it. Okay.
Yeah. So I would probably stay with the current pieces that you have and upgrade those. And kind of like cut your losses there, and then stay with that until you get full Helix, until you start making some obscene amounts of money when you're training, and then you can be a little bit more. And once you get the Helix, you know, the stuff, and you can switch and think about the transposing of the pen and everything, and everything rolls to 17. Maybe some event rings pop up before then, you know, some of the really strong ones. But until then, like, yeah, for the accessories, the potential of the accessories can also kind of determine what function it gets, right? Like, say you have 4 rings, and you're like, okay, I want to get Meso and drop, and then one ring rolls like 27% intellect or 30, then it's like, okay, now it's a damage ring. Like, now you have to get another ring, right? At this point, you don't want to, you never want to roll over that just because this was supposed to be drop or Meso. But if it's 21, you know, then it's kind of like 21 is pretty easy to get back, so that's not something that you desperately need to keep. Early on, rolling a 21, of course, is amazing. But at your current stage, like 21 on an accessory, that's pretty doable to replicate, so we don't want to hold on to that like for dear life anymore.
Okay. And
yeah, so I guess which
second.
9 pieces would you have in mind that you can use for drop and Meso gear, I guess?
I would think probably my rings and pendant. Yeah, I guess, are there 9 accessories? I guess 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, and then belt is 8, and then I would just need 1 more.
Oh, the belt doesn't count. So you have the 4 rings, the 2 pendants, and then the eye in the face and the earring. Those are the 9 accessories that can get drop and Meso.
Okay.
So I think the current earrings is like pretty much the only ones you have, right?
Yeah. Well, I have the I have a bunch of the I don't know how to pronounce it, but the earrings that Horntail drops, Chaos Horntail drops.
Right, the Diocitus, yeah.
Yeah, and then I also have the Sweetwater earrings as well, and the Will-O-Wisps.
Do you have any of those that have like an amazing flame on it? I mean, your current alien fragment flame isn't that bad either.
Yeah, the Will-O-Wisps has, I don't know what the score is, but it has 4% all stat and 36 int, so it's not bad. No magic attack though. And that's epic.
That's epic, okay.
Yeah, and 12 stars.
And 12 stars. Yeah, because the one downside to like using the alien fragments is since they're level 180, it is a big reveal cost, and if you want to Star Force more, that is really expensive.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
if you
I
have
guess,
comparable...
I guess what I could do though is as I get the Golek set, I can kind of turn these into Meso and drop gear, right?
Yeah, what's also possible if you get the superior ring, and you probably do invest it, and it ends up rolling Meso or drop plus intellect, it could also just be a hybrid ring. Because the main value from the superior ring comes from the set bonus, not so much from the stats of the ring itself. And until you have the full set, and until you're really differentiating between between a drop set and a damage set, until that point, it's not really important to have pieces that have like everything has to have 30 intellect, or everything has to have like Meso obtain double line, and so you can just have like a hybrid set in the beginning. That's perfectly fine. Again, the damage comes from CRA, from the Abzo, from your symbols, from your arcane power, and from your weapon secondary and emblem. Like that's where all your damage comes from.
Right.
So you want to take the pressure off of the performing of the accessories. So you have so you're close to the superior pendant.
Mm-hmm.
You have no other superior pieces.
No.
You have and as far as alternatives for the current accessories, you have an epic earring with like an OK flame.
Yeah.
And are there any other accessories where you would have certain backups? Like, do you have any extra rings or?
Yeah, I have a silver blossom ring that's pretty good. I have a treasure hunter John's ring.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by pretty good, by the way?
10 stars, and then int 12% epic.
Mm-hmm.
And then so that's, and then the treasure John I just kept at rare, but that would be pretty easy. That's 12 stars. That would be pretty easy to get to epic, at least, or unique.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it for rings.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good idea to just start re-rolling your current stuff to like drop our Meso one line, one at a time.
Yeah, okay.
But again, I'd probably do it after the 5, 10, 15.
Yep.
Like right after. And yeah, I'm kind of like in doubt on what to do with like the eye in the face, or like I wonder if it's significantly different to just re-roll this, because eventually you want to make this into your drop in Meso stuff anyway.
Right.
That's probably what I would advise. But yeah, avoiding to switch all of the stuff immediately will also avoid making any kind of like huge loss in damage. But I'm thinking the weapon should pick up most of that hit, right? If you get to the 17, you get nice potential on it, and an OK flame. That should give you a huge buffer for killing things that dipping into your intellect on your accessory should not really touch. So
that makes sense. Yeah, so I think the most immediate next step is getting the Abso weapon next week, and then getting it to legendary.
Yeah.
Okay.
You said for the flames that you were unfamiliar with the score. Do you know about the calculator? Do you use that sometimes?
Yeah, I know the calculator. Mm-hmm. I just didn't. I didn't know what the score was on that specific item, but yeah, I've used like the command, and I've used it on items before.
Okay, cool. Yeah, usually people take about 8 8 score for one all stat. Is like the golden rule. When you go later in the game, it's closer to 9. End game for some classes it can be 10 or even higher. Usually I take like for late game, quick calculations take about 8, and then if I'm taking a character serious, I take a 9 to like future proof it kind of. And then for attack, it's about 4 early on, and then it goes down to 3 later. So, if you have more all stat than attack, that means it tends to scale better the longer you keep it. If it has high attack and lower all stat, then it scales a little bit worse if you keep it longer. But yeah, usually the big chunk of main stat is what we definitely want. That one just that's what the whole system is based around, so that always stays the same, right?
Right. And what are your thoughts on like androids? Are they worth it? Should I be trying to get one?
Unless you can get a permanent heart that is at least like level 71 or higher, I don't think there's any value really in androids. So unless there's a fairy heart in the shop or there's Wandroid going on, as far as I know, those are the only hearts that can get potential and that are permanent. Unless that's in play, I think you could just like forego whatever event or whatever that content is that just gives androids. Unless you specifically want the look of the android, like that's up to you. But unless that's into question, I would just not worry about them at all. Okay. The current heart does not get potential from the events, has been confirmed, so that's not worth going for.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how I got it, but I had the Guroid heart, but it expires, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a temporary, and then there's a permanent one, but it has some stats, but they're pretty shitty too. So it's not that great.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, there's Medium Hard, but that's permanent, but that's level 30, so I don't think that's ever worth spending your money on. Like, even if it's perfected, it's just 12% for that kind of money. There's probably a bunch of other things you can work on at that stage. Like, you'd have to be pretty decked out without any kind of heart to want to spend in a Medium Hard. That's really like an exception, I would say.
So the Dominator pendant, because I also got, like, I have a ton of recipes for it. But my accessory crafting is nowhere near level 10. So is it worth, like, how necessary?
It's almost never
getting...
worth the craft, because it needs 5 primals, and the primals one primal can also make a Meister ring, and that's a level 140 ring that can be best in slot pretty much for a long time for you by itself, and that can also be used as high Star Force to transfer hammer into the superior if you want to go for high Star Force there without risking booming the superior. The situation where you could craft the Dominator is that, like, let's say that your account is already pretty funded. You actually have kind of treasure backups, like quite a significant amount of them, and you don't have, you still don't have a Dominator, but you do have the money to spend. Then you can craft the Dominator, but that's like again a very, very exceptional niche situation where that could be worth it. That you'd have so many primals, and are really unlucky with the Dominators, and you have like or you have like, you know, 10 or 20 backup kind of treasures, so you don't have to worry about the transfer hammering into the superior. Then you can use your Dominators for that. But yeah, we're not there yet. We still have time to get the Dominators and everything. And if you get more drop rate, hopefully get a little bit drop rate on a familiar. What I like to do is when I do a few daily bosses that have nice drops. So what I would do in the past is I would do like Arc, normal Magnus, and then normal Queen and normal Vellum, right, for the soul drops, and then just pop like a 10-minute Legion drop coupon,
Legion,
and then do them all in a row, just to min-max out that a little bit more. There's still time for that, and some people just don't get a Dominator for like 3 months, and some people get it on the second day, and that's just kind of like how the cookie crumbles. But crafting is like a pure act of desperation where we're not at that point yet.
Yeah, and my soul on my weapon is okay, right? I have the Radiant Vellum magic attack +6.
Yeah, it's a regular one, right? So you don't get all too much from that. Until you have a magnificent one and you can start getting percentages, this is probably as good as you can get. Yeah, you don't really have to worry about the soul too much unless it's a magnificent one, pretty much.
Okay, and the way I get that is just by filling out the nine souls.
Oh no, so the so you want to always keep your souls until there's a magnificent soul event, and then try to and then double click them. 10 shards at a time, and then you'll have 5% chance of getting magnificent over the normal 1% chance only.
Oh, so I can get magnificent through any of the, like, just by clicking on when there's 10 shards.
Yeah, 1% chance base, and then during a magnificent soul event on Sunny Sunday, if it happens, there's none in this patch, so we just save up basically. Then there's 5% chance, which is, you know, significantly better, but still quite horrible. And then what happens in the book is that you can use your spare souls to throw them in the book, and if you have the full page and you have that boss's soul on your weapon, then that skill of the soul will be empowered from level 1 to level 2.
Okay.
But if that boss can get a magnificent soul, then one of the souls that has to be in the book, you have to have each kind, including the magnificent. So you have to have at least 2 magnificents of that boss, including one on your weapon and one in the book. And you want to have the one on your weapon be a good stat, which is a random stat if you use magnificent souls. So there's like a lot of variance there. There's variance in the drop of the souls, and there's variance of getting magnificence, and then there's variance in which stats you get when you use it, right? So 3 layers of RNG before getting the stats that you want. So that's not something that you need to worry about too much. It's just a long process. As long as you
collect the shards.
Yeah, just collect the shards, double click them when there's an event, and then, you know, when you have a decent amount of them or you feel like going for it, try some magnificence. But there's a good chance you roll, like, I don't know, you could roll crit rate, you could roll percentage attack, you could roll skill levels +2, I think. So yeah, there's a lot of bad stuff in there as well. But you could roll boss, you could roll all stat, you could roll magic attack. That would all probably be better than 6 at magic attack.
Okay. Great. Yeah, I didn't even know that was a thing. So that was.
Yeah, very
I'll
few
definitely...
people like fill the book and level up their soul skill. It's a very, very rare thing to happen.
Right. Okay.
Or you fill up the soul book, but then it's not for a skill you actually use. You know, like I have a bunch of characters that have like the full Pierre book or the Von Bon book or the Arcarian book, but I don't use those souls on my weapon, obviously, so it's not really that... Or even if I have the book full, I don't really use the skill, because it's like a summon that doesn't really do much at the higher levels, so, you know, it's kind of for show, but I don't know, it's kind of fun. You unlock like a hidden page and shows you like a picture of the boss in a weird situation or something. I don't know if I have any full on this character, actually. I may have... Yeah, but usually I keep the Magnificence... I don't even fill the book, because then that would mean that I would have to lose one of my Magnificence, right? Yeah, like I have the Von Leon completed here. Afinia doesn't even have a Magnificent, so you don't need to put one in. I have the Ursus completed. You have the Coca-Cola, well, off-label Coca-Cola commercial picture. But then, yeah, you see here, like, it empowers the soul, so you see Master Level 2. So if you have it equipped, it'll empower that a little bit, but that's it. But yeah, I'm not gonna fill the Magnus book. I might fill the Arc book, you know. Oh, it says Goddess now instead of Empress. That's good. It used to say Empress, which implied Empress Cygnus, but it's actually, what's her name? The goddess who made Zero. The Transcendent of Time. Fuck, I forgot her name. But yeah, they actually messed it up in the lore, so they changed the translation. That's one of those little niche things that's not really important.
Yeah.
Yeah, any other questions you have?
No. I don't
Okay.
think so.
Yeah, so it'll be a matter of checking how badly or how greatly the 5-15 goes. If you end up with a lot of money left, you could push the Abzo, but I think aside from the weapon and the CRA, because you don't have to safeguard the CRA, I think it'll probably be best to see if you can just push those 3 items. And then maybe the shield if you have it by that point, because the shield will be a little bit cheaper and lower level as well.
Right.
But I probably wouldn't...
Is the shield hard to craft?
No, the materials is very easy. It's very easy. You need like a few Lydium and a few monster crystals, and I think that's pretty much it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just about the level of the crafting and you being a high enough level, and then you have a 100% chance and you have it immediately. Yeah, the difficulty is in getting the recipe.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, and then because I think the Abzo stuff, again, going up to 17 is great, but going up to 15 is very expensive and you get very little for it in return. So if you're not sure you're going to be able to bump from 15 to 17, then it's also not worth going to 15 first. Because 15 is so expensive because it allows you to get to 17. But if you don't have the money to make that last jump, then it's not worth to get to 15 either. So it'll be just better to wait for 30% off and then send it to 15.
Okay.
Thinking if there's any piece where we have to go over specifically. I don't know if there's any piece of equipment where you still had questions. So yeah, the potential on the glove, they'll be pretty nice. They'll probably be like around the point where you're working on the accessories as well. Throwing some cubes on there, seeing if you can hit critical damage. There is a situation you could hit critical damage and int together. That would be great. Or critical damage and a combination of maybe like the Sharp Eyes or the Speed Infusion, which will also free up a slot in your matrix if you can get that. That would be high value as well.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, no, I think I have pretty clear direction on next steps, both on items and Lincoln Legion.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So flame-wise, I guess your weapon is next.
Yeah.
And after that,
I haven't touched the weapon in a while. Just because I knew that I was
exactly.
Abzo.
Yeah. When I say Abzo, I mean when I say weapon, I mean the Abzo weapon when you get it, of course.
Yeah.
Wouldn't flame this one. And then after that, the cape is like has all of the room for improvement right now. It only has 15 intellect, and that's it. So the cape can get a lot of gains. Yeah, other than that, maybe the top. I guess maybe, but yeah, you'll be working on that weapon for a while. That's gonna be that's gonna be the main thing to get.
Yeah, because it'll effectively be end game for me at least, I would expect.
Yeah, you'd hold that for a long ass time. Yeah, I mean, you'd
Yeah.
just think you have to get everything else. You'd have to get the split bossing and mobbing setup. You'd have to get all the double accessories. You'd have to get everything to 17 stars and legendary, and at least 2 lines of intellect, possibly higher, like up to 24% or something, before you even start touching the weapon. It is possible that through events and everything, and through availability, that you start saving towards the arcane weapon. But even if you do that, that means that the weapon that you're making now, 17 star, good flames, 2-line legendary potential at least, that is what you're going to hold on to until you get to arcane. So that's not really going to move from there at all. That's not in Star Force, not in Flame, probably not in potential either. So
Okay.
so yeah, familiars and the IED to make sure that you can switch out of the book once you get into the so that'll be like once your Legion links build up further, and once you can get the Helix complete set, that'll be the go ahead to just full send basically on your emblem.
Okay.
And because you won't need the ID at all anymore, you can just red cube away and not have to worry too much. Even if you just end up with, I don't know, like 9 magic attack and 9 intellect or something, it'll probably still be an increase. So that'll take some weight off of you, because yeah, the annoying part is if you need to reroll an item with red cubes, you have no backups, and you have that fear of having to settle for something that's way worse and then going down. Yeah, so you want to have that safety net of IED, and that's going to come from the links and the Golok set.
Okay.
Yeah, just keep doing the dailies when you can. There's a lot of damage in there. And any event you participate in that has nodes, jump on that as much as possible.
Right.
Nodes
I
are
did that
scarce.
for the last. I heard you say that, so I bought out all the nodes. And then the symbols too.
Yeah, if you can, just to spice up a little bit,
Yeah.
How are you with I can see the level. Oh, it's level 4. How are you with Spirit Savior and stuff? Are you getting that a little bit, or?
Yeah. Yeah, Spirit Savior is the one in Arcana, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think I usually average like 8 or 9K per run.
Okay, that's pretty good, yeah. And that's doubled now, right? Oh, well, are you leveling up the second branch?
I just did. So,
cool, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm up to Latch today, or Lock. I don't
nice.
know.
Yeah. So tomorrow, Arcana, if you get it. Yep.
And actually, what I did before that though is I did the Fruitapalooza up until the Magnus one, because I wanted to get the Arcarium.
Yep.
Just for the extra chance of getting the Dominator Pennant.
Yeah, that's a good idea actually. Yeah.
And then I stopped. I didn't go any further on that. Just because I can't like kill CPAP yet. So I'm sure people are doing that for the mark, right?
Yeah. We still don't know 100% if it actually affects it. We're all just kind of like hoping.
Okay.
And there's a whole lot of copium going on everywhere. Like, surely it'll help. But nobody. The truth is that nobody knows exactly. There was even conflicting feedback from the GMs and the CM. So you always gotta wonder if they actually know, and if So, we just stack as much drop rate as we can, and then just let RNGs just take the wheel.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we do.
I was also thinking of doing the Ursus one in Fruitapalooza, just for the 45% Meso drop rate.
That's
but
only
I'm gonna do this symbols first, I think.
Yeah, because the extra stat and definitely the extra arcane power you can get from that. Your arcane power is still pretty good though. I don't know if you saw the session I had. I think it was yesterday. A guy was around the same level as you, leveling like crazy, and his levels were definitely a lot lower than yours. And just the sheer amount of stat you get from that is very, very helpful. So
it's crazy. I guess it's kind of like a benefit of leveling a bit slower.
Yeah, exactly. What I've done with like my last 3 characters is like start at, be at like at 220, decide that you want to take the character seriously, level to 235, then just start doing dailies, and then once you max the symbols at around like level 241 or something, then grind from 241 to 250. So like for a year they'll just be stuck there, and then be like, okay, now I have 13k stat for my symbols. Now I can, now I don't have to fund my character to get those levels, and I can just grind out those levels in a few totems and be done. Right.
And
it's it's slow, but it works.
It works. So at the level that I'm at now, I feel like I'm in a weird transition between Arcana and Lack. Like, where would you recommend training, I guess?
Yeah, so I
until
would
230.
I would recommend training where it feels good for you. It's a bit weird, but sometimes you'll have to just try a few maps and just see which one makes sense. If the rates are similar, then you just pick whichever one is more fun, right? If the rates are significantly different somewhere, then that map will probably be a good priority. In general, it kind of depends on how strong people are, but in general, people stay in Lakaline a little bit longer until they hit like 232, 233 or something, so they can go to like the lower area in Arcana.
Got it.
But some people have opted, since the map changes, to go for the lower level areas in Arcana. In like the Earth Spirit specifically is seen as a pretty good map.
Yeah, I think I can one hit there. I think
because it's pretty condensed, and you have that big summon that you can throw up in the middle. You can hit the sides. I think that map might, if you can kill there regularly, you know, we'll have to see like after all the switches, right? But I think with the drop rate in the Meso set and with the weapon, you probably with your arcane power should still be able to kill there.
Right.
After that, I don't know exactly where Ice Lightnings go, because that's specifically also the point where maps become more class centric because of the map layouts and the kit layouts and stuff. So I think, yeah, I don't know where Ice Lightnings go after that. I know in the past it was just like CLP Central with old Kishin that was really fast. You just and old Ice Age, you just pop Ice Age, and half the time you've got like the best rates in the game, and it was smooth sailing. But those times have passed, right? Because of the slower Kishin, the bigger maps are more favored now. But specifically for Ice Lights, I don't know. If people who are Ice Lightnings are watching this, leave comments on the video so we can get some idea on where to train.
Yeah, I'm also part of the Discord.
Ice Light Discord? Yeah. Oh yeah, they'll probably have some suggestions. I'm thinking maybe LP1, LP2. I'm guessing is probably okay.
Okay.
But yeah, you might be in the lower level ones for a little bit, right? You know about final damage penalty based on level difference?
Yep.
Yeah. So even if you have
levels,
the...
right?
Well, it's like even just one level is already a penalty. If you're below.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
all the way up until you're the monster level. And so I think at 5 levels below, I think you're already taking... I think it's 25% penalty. So that's already a quarter of your damage gone. So you have to be pretty strong to overcome that in the beginning, especially if you just get to a new area. Like, oh, I've got the symbol. It's like, yeah, okay, but here's your damage reduction. Be like, ugh. So like the leveling slowly has the benefit, though, that if you go to a new area, you can probably start training in it immediately because your arcane power can overcome some of that difference.
Yeah, because it's already 150%, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's 5% penalty per level below. So if you're 5 levels below, it's 25% final damage lost.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, all the way up until 10 levels, and then more than 10 levels lower, it's even more. So my hero, who was like way over on the symbols, max boost nodes, as soon as I got to Arcana, I was able to one-shot in CLP. Barely. But that was, you know, because of all the final damage and heroes kind of broken.
Yeah.
But that was, I think that's 12 levels below? No. I don't even know. LP1 is... CLP is 230... It's 237, I think. If I remember correctly. I think it's 12 levels. And you're like 225 when you get there. Yeah, so that's 68% reduction. So you have to like basically triple their HP, a little bit more, to be able to still one-shot them. But then, yeah, in the first 5 levels you gain, your damage like doubles.
Yeah.
Even if you don't upgrade at all, so that's nice.
Yeah, I think right now I'm 6 levels below the Earth Spirits. So that would be like a 30% reduction.
30% reduction, yeah.
I think with my arcane power, that's 150. So I'm still over 100%.
Yeah, so you're still 20% plus, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then your boost nodes are decently high for the main skills as well, so that's final damage as well, yeah. Yeah, it's all final, so it all multiplies in the same way.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And so with the boost nodes, so level 40 is when you get the IED. Is that, like, I didn't really understand. Does that go towards your total IED, like in your stat window, or
that's skill specific?
Just the skill.
Yeah, just the skill. Yeah. So that will never show up visually in your window because the game doesn't know which skill you're going to use. In the same way, like your Explorer Mage debuff on a boss, that's a boss-specific debuff that also doesn't show in your stat window because the stat window doesn't know who you're going to hit. So that's when the difference between your visual IED and your functional IED comes into play. So you basically just have those two things that you would add 20% and you would add the 9% as extra sources. But if you have someone in your party who debuffs the boss even more, then your functional IED becomes even higher, right? If you have a paladin who threatens, if you have a zero who debuffs, if you have a bishop who debuffs, God forbid a demon avenger in your party who debuffs, Ice Lightning and demon avenger together, like homies got to stick together. Then your effective IED rate becomes even higher. So it's good to have a decent rate by yourself, but sometimes you can rely on the party because like max threaten and max zero debuffs are 50%. So that means if you're effectively at 90, then functionally at 90, then with those debuffs you're at 95, right? Because it takes up 50% of the remaining 10. So that already puts you in a really good position. So if you know you're going to be with those people forever, then that sets you up for being able to divest a little bit. But of course, when you're soloing, you want to make sure you make decent progress as well.
Okay. And sorry, I have one other question. And these are like totally random in different directions, but
sure, go for it.
They're just coming to my mind. So with the Abso, I can choose between the wand and the staff. Is there like a, for lack of a better term, like a meta, or is one better than the other? I think one has like more attack, but it's slower, and the other one has less attack, but it's faster.
Yeah, so the attack speed actually only comes into play when you like smack with it. So when it comes to the booster and the green pod and the speed infusion, that is what speed up your magical casting. But all of the magical casting has a certain base speed as a mage, and the speed of the weapon does not affect your magical casting. It only affects your your physical smacking with the weapon. So hopefully you're not doing that all too much, or you're playing the character a little bit ineffectively. So that the attack speed is not the thing. The main difference is that the staff does have more magic attack, but the wand gives you critical rate. So that could, if you need that critical rate there, it gives you 5% critical rate. So that could be something that takes a load off. I'm personally of the school of thought that I think wands are actually kind of superior. A lot of people will go for the magic attack of the staff to min-max, and to, especially if you're going into endgame, and everyone's just, you'll have like a lot of stuff elitism. But I think as like for Absolab, I think that's a good weapon that you will keep for a long time. You can rely on that crit rate and you can build around that. And then once you have like a giant legion and all of the link skills in the world, and maybe even you min-max your inner ability to have like a 20% crit line in there, then you have so much crit, then the magic attack is way more important, and you go full staff, of course. I almost said full mast. But then that would be like for Arcane, that would be the decision. I think for Absolab, it's probably fine to use either one. My preference would go to Wand, but you'll hear different opinions on that. Like if you're like a Bishop, I would say 100% staff, because they have like 100% crit rate like before they wake up. So like there's no point in taking a Wand there. But I like a Wand on classes where you can still use the crit rate and put it to good use.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense.
Because I think it's like a 3 or 4 magic attack difference, and then an extra 2 or something with the flame. So if you could choose one or the other, I like the crit better there.
Okay. Makes sense. Thank you.
Was there another one? Because you said questions. I don't know if you had a...
No, I think that was it.
You think that was it? Okay. Well, yeah, if you can still take a few minutes to reconsider if you still have any questions, anything that comes to mind. Yeah, we went over familiars. Hope that's all clear. We went over link skills and Legion, Matrix. Yeah, like redoing the board a little bit, making sure to prioritize that crit rate, crit damage for the mules. Yeah, slow and steady with the Legion, but like crit rate, crit damage, IED boss damage, like a lot of that will come from this. And as a Ice Lightning main, you'll also benefit a lot from a high Legion, and I'm talking like 8k. Because even if you don't need that crit rate anymore, you can always dump in buff duration to make your Infinity even stronger. So you have near infinite growth there. Which also means that once your grid gets that big, you divest completely from the middle, right? Intellect and magic attack, which is not important anymore at that point. You just use it as a connector between the left and the right side.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Skill changes, we talked about that. Knockback resistance. You know about the link skill command. We talked about the shields, accessories one at a time after the 5 and 10, 15. Consumption on the glove. Yeah, I guess the only other thing is, like, when it comes to backups and stuff, we're going on the Abzo, so you don't need any of the 150 gear to save that up, because the Abzo is just going to go to 17 and then stay there until Arcane, so there's no need to keep a bunch of the Ramaru items and stuff like that.
Right.
The only backups you would want to keep, in case of rain, would be all of the stuff that could transfer into the Golok stuff, right? So the reinforced earrings, possible extra reinforced belts.
Yep.
Dominators, but you're already working on that, and then either kind of treasures or the primals for the Meisters, so that kind of overlaps with the other stuff, just underlying their purpose, I guess.
Okay.
And just like yesterday, I guess the Pink Holy Cup could be a little bit better, but you're also probably still doing Pink Bean every now and then, so there's always a chance you get a better flame there, so
exactly.
I wouldn't prioritize flaming that at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, once the Star Force is settled and the potential is a little bit more settled on everything, could probably do with like a round of flaming on the Abzo stuff at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, Cape has a lot of gains there. Glove has a decent amount of gains available. Shoe has some room as well. But again, weapon above and beyond, way more important. So that's top priority.
Okay.
Okay, I think that covers
awesome.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, no, this has been really helpful. I appreciate it.
Yeah, glad I could clarify a few things and help you see that it's not that bad of a situation. There's just some tweaks here and there, and then as long as you keep your eyes on the prize, you'll get there.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, best of luck.
All right, cool.
And I'll see you around.
Appreciate it.
All right, you're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
All right. So similar level, similar situation as the situation from yesterday. But you see that even though for the last guy we said like, oh, just get rid of all of the accessories immediately, right? Because they did play more, they had a better or a higher income, I should say, more flexibility there in terms of mesos. So I would set there. Get rid of the accessories, right? Start focusing on the next one. Go a little harder on the accessory, the eye in the face one, and then see what backup you have. Because you play more, because you have that financial stability there, you could go a little bit more flexible. Here, not the ideal situation with lower income, so we cut our losses there and just work on our current accessories instead. Overall, it's not that much worse, right? But if you don't have that mobility there, don't take that, but put those funds towards the Star Forcing first on the 5, 10, 15 that's upcoming, and then work on the accessories after. But again, two very similar situations, but because of their different play styles and different amount of time they have available, two different solutions for the same problem. So again, that's why these one-to-one sessions, I think, are still, every one of them is equally valuable. You can get some different points of view, you can get different advice, but everyone's situation is unique. That's why I underlined it also in the in the descriptions of all the videos, that the advice is specific for a person in that one situation. It could be that I say one thing and then the other person seems to be in the exact same situation and say something else. It's because no two people are in the exact same situation, right? There's always some difference. So with that, if you thought this was helpful and useful, I'm glad. Hopefully it helped one or two of you at least figure out something that you were kind of worrying about, kind of wondering about, hopefully to clarify. And again, as always, I am drawing 2 winners at the end of the month for people who comment on the video that they would like one of these progression sessions for themselves. For anyone else, you're always available to subs for payment in the Twitch chat or through direct donation through PayPal. Links for that, if you want to do one of those, is in the description of the video. And if you want to join my guild, where we hang out and try to do some things together, earn some skill points, we're at 40 skill points in NA Reboot, which I think is pretty good. We want to maintain that, so if you want to fortify the guild and lend your expertise and give us your manpower, we're always recruiting. We're at about 140 members, I think. 150. We're at 150, but we still have room for 50, so there's some flexible spots left if you want to apply. Or if you have data for me in forms of battle analysis, monster skill per hour, or training videos of you in high-level areas, all of this info is useful for me to make resources for players like yourself to set good expectations on what they can achieve in the game. Links for everything are in the description of the video. And best of luck to the people who want to win a progression session. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.